deluded mind, she was truly yours. But she was not. She never was. She was merely present for a time, a chapter, a fleeting season. And instead of accepting that harsh reality with the stoicism it demands, most men instead break. They beg, they stalk, they resort to threats, they plead. And in doing so, they utterly obliterate whatever masculine presence they had managed to retain. Because the more desperately you cling, the more you bleed. And women do not pursue blood. They pursue power. Here is the absolute truth you must internalize. You cannot genuinely own a woman. You can only extend an invitation for her to enter your compelling frame. And she will remain only for as long as that frame remains unyieldingly strong. That is the unvarnished reality. If your frame collapses, if your core values bend, if your inherent confidence decays, she is gone. And if your entire identity was foolishly constructed upon having her, you will inevitably collapse, too. But if your identity is firmly built upon yourself, on purpose, on mastery, on truth, then her presence becomes a bonus, a delightful addition, not a desperate lifeline. And when she departs, you do not break, you grow, you build, you walk forward, calm, unshaken, because the truly stoic man understands. She was never mine. It was simply my turn. And now my time is far better spent becoming even greater. Not because he is consumed by bitterness, but because he steadfastly refuses to be governed by illusion. The men who ascend, the ones she can never truly forget, are not those who desperately cling. They are the ones who can bid farewell without flinching. Now you clearly perceive it. It was never about a mythical forever. It was always about precise alignment, about compelling energy, about the specific version of you she was drawn to, not the stagnant idea of you remaining perpetually the same. She did not change. She evolved. And you mistakenly confused. Time for enduring truth. You attempted to possess her. She merely desired to feel something. You offered comfort. She yearned for fire. You desperately tried to make her stay. She was already halfway gone. And now, you are presented with two distinct choices: cling desperately to the fading fantasy, or decisively become the man who will never require it again. Because when you detach, when you fully embrace the profound truth that no woman is ever truly yours, you cease to fear loss. And when you liberate yourself from the fear of loss, you transform into the one thing no woman can genuinely resist: a man she cannot control. If you have ever witnessed a woman gradually fade from your life while you held on even tighter, comment, "She was never mine." Let's see how many men finally awaken today. You believe she is yours simply because she says, "I love you," because she prepares your meals, because she shares your picture with hearts and filters, or because she once wept in your embrace, declaring, "I could never lose you." But here is a stark truth that will undoubtedly bring you back to reality. She is not yours. It's merely your turn. And the moment you forget this, the instant you begin to truly believe her body, her attention, her loyalty inherently belong to you, you start constructing your masculinity on shifting sands. For one day, she will change. She will drift away. She will cease laughing at your jokes. She'll pull back without offering an explanation, and it will feel intensely like betrayal. But it is not betrayal. It is simply biology. And if you fail to grasp this single, brutal truth, you will be utterly crushed by something that was never in the first place promised to you. In this video, I am going to rip this illusion wide open and expose what no one dares to articulate about female nature, possession, and the raw reality of masculine detachment. Are you ready? Good. Let's begin. The illusion of possession. 1. She belongs to the moment, not the man. You may think she is yours because she shares your bed, because she softly whispers your name, because she posts pictures of you on her social media story, or because she refers to you as her man. But allow me to state something that may sting now, but will ultimately save you later. She does not belong to you. She belongs to the specific moment you currently embody. This isn't about your name, or your grand promises, or the goodness of your heart. It is fundamentally about the energy you radiate right now. Because a woman's loyalty is not etched in stone. It is painted in wet ink. It smudges, it shifts, and sometimes, it can vanish entirely overnight. You see, female desire isn't rooted in cold logic. It is not bound by a sense of duty. It is inextricably tied to feeling. And feelings, by their very nature, are momentary. 1 week, you are her sanctuary, her safe place. The very next, you become a stark reminder of what she has outgrown. 1 month, you are the man she cannot stop thinking about. The next, you are mere background noise in her direct messages. Why? Because she was never truly yours. You were simply her current obsession, her emotional stimulant, her fleeting fantasy, until that feeling inevitably shifted. And most men, tragically, fail to see this coming because they mistakenly confuse intense emotional connection with permanence. They interpret her moans as eternal commitment. They believe her tears signify unwavering devotion. They assume her love today guarantees her presence tomorrow. But it does not. Because when the moment irrevocably shifts, when you cease to represent the precise energy she craves, when your enigmatic mystery fades, When the thrill morphs into mundane routine, she detaches, not because she is inherently evil, but because that is how her fundamental biology safeguards her from remaining stagnant. She does not remain with the man who is good. She remains with the man who continues to be profoundly relevant to her current emotional landscape. And the brutal truth most men stubbornly ignore. You are not competing with other men. You are competing with her own continually evolving desires. That is precisely why it feels as though she changed. Because she did. The instant she encountered you were perfectly aligned with her needs. But she is not the same woman now. And if you have not evolved alongside her, she is gone mentally first, then emotionally, then physically. And you are left clutching the mere memory of a woman who only ever existed for that specific version of you. That is why breakups can feel akin to death. Because you are not just grieving her loss, you are grieving the very man you were when she still wanted you. And that, my friend, is the harsh, unspoken truth. You never truly owned her. You simply, temporarily, matched her energy. When that vital match fractured, so too did the bond. So, what then do? You cease attempting to possess. You stop clinging desperately. You relinquish the desperate need for forever. You become the moment. You embody the archetype of a man who is in a perpetual state of becoming. So her desire is compelled to continually pursue you, rather than seeking to replace you. Because if you truly believe she is yours, you have already, in essence, lost her. The free ebook and her options, by the way, there's something I probably shouldn't be revealing, but I am. It's a completely free ebook titled The Female Mind Control Handbook. Inside, you'll discover the forbidden psychological triggers that compel women to crave, obsess over, and even actively chase you. It's raw, it's unflinchingly real, and it's something she would absolutely never want you to lay eyes on. Grab it, now the link is in the description and pinned comment before it mysteriously disappears. 2. You were never her sole option, merely her preferred distraction. Let this profound truth fully sink in. You were never her only available choice. You were simply the most compelling option at that specific point in time. And if that makes you feel a sense of discomfort, that's precisely a good sign. Because the sooner you confront this difficult truth, the sooner you will cease dwelling in delusion and begin living in genuine power. Here is what you absolutely must comprehend. Every single woman, regardless of how unwavering her loyalty might appear, possesses options whether they are visibly apparent or subtly concealed, directly offered or indirectly waiting in the wings. She has a multitude of arbiters, devoted fans, interested colleagues, and even ex-partners lurking in the background. Just friends who would readily risk everything for even a single hint of encouragement. And no matter how many times she whispers, "You're the only one I want," you must always remember this. She is uttering those words while you are exciting, while you maintain control of your energy, while you still present a challenge. But the very moment you cease to embody that, you will inevitably fade, and someone else will effortlessly step into her focus. Because women do not switch their interests abruptly, like flipping a light switch. They do so gradually, silently, and often, strategically. Initially, her texts might come slower. She'll be busy more frequently. Your conversations will feel distinctly colder, yet you won't be able to articulate why. Then, she will begin to articulate a need for space, a desire to focus on herself, or a feeling of not being connected. But here's the crucial twist. She is already emotionally attached to someone else. Perhaps not physically yet, but emotionally. She is already drifting away from you and inexorably moving toward the next emotional high. The guy who flirts with just the right amount of subtlety. The one who makes her feel enigmatic and alluring once more. The man who is not always readily available. The one who prompts her to question her own value. That is the individual who becomes the new favored distraction. Because women inherently chase emotion, not cold logic. And when the emotions connected with you inevitably wane, they will undoubtedly ignite somewhere else. And you, tragically, will be left bewildered, wondering what transpired when you were replaced, what you did wrong. The truth, nothing, except, for this, you forgot she possessed options, and you ceased being the best one. You became comfortable, you became predictable. You gave her all your time, all your energy, your entire presence, without reserving any for yourself. And that very energy, that desperation, it repelled her because it silently conveyed, "You are all I possess. Without you, I am utterly nothing." But the man who cultivates himself into becoming everything outside of her, the man who commands his own time, meticulously guards his mystery, and never permits her to become the absolute center of his universe, that is the man she cannot forget. Even when she is with another, Bosis, believing you are her only opportunity. You are not, you never were. You were merely a moment that burned more intensely than the rest, until you inevitably stopped burning. And when that occurred, she simply redirected her gaze toward the next flame. Detachment and power. 3. If you genuinely believe you own her, you will inevitably destroy yourself. Possession, that is the insidious illusion. You hold her hand, she shares your bed, she affectionately calls you baby, she introduces you to her parents, and your mind begins to deceive you. She's mine. She would never leave. I earned this. But what you fail to perceive, what most men regrettably never do, is that the very instant you begin to believe she truly belongs to you, you cease being the man she initially found irresistible. Why? Because ownership inherently breeds entitlement, and entitlement, in turn, ruthlessly extinguishes the very energy that created the initial attraction. When you are convinced she is yours, you stop diligently sharpening yourself. You stop leading decisively. You stop observing keenly. You stop listening attentively. You assume, you expect. You grow complacent, and complacency is precisely where masculinity withers and dies. It's where polarity irrevocably fades. It's where desire gradually withers, and mundane routine takes root. But she does not desire to be owned. She yearns to be chosen repeatedly, over and over, by a man who never ceases his evolution. The moment you treat her like a prize, you have already definitively won. You cease earning her, and the moment you cease earning her, she will begin to look elsewhere. And here is where the narrative darkens considerably. When she eventually departs, you will experience an intense sensation of betrayal. You will spiral into despair. You will rage, because in your